and welcome back after a pause that was about the same length as Mad Lions versus T1. We are here for the final game of the day, possibly. SK up against Fnatic.
Immediately contradicting yourself.
I said possibly.
Okay.
I said it's the spirit of the law, man.
That was technically correct.
Anyway, SK versus Fnatic. If SK win, they are locked in groups, and we will see Astralis being knocked out. If Fnatic win, Astralis and SK will play up in a tiebreaker immediately after Game 5 to see who gets that final spot in groups. It's a bit of a spicy one here for SK. Fnatic obviously already locked top 2. They can't get first either because G2 have beaten them in the head-to-head. It matters a little bit, but not too much in the grand scale of things.
Yeah, I think for ASK though, it was so interesting, right? Because the schedule was kind of tough coming into this one. You know, they played against Astralis, they lost it. That should have been the easy one. They played against Mad Lions, they won it. And now they're up against Fnatic, which is arguably one of the strongest teams as well that you have to go up against. So yeah, you're able to take it against Mad Lions, where the early game didn't go as well, but you had it back in the late game. But going up against Fnatic, you really can't be allowed to make any early game mistakes.
It's true.
I mean, I was impressed with what SK did in the early game yesterday. I mean, we cast that game and we did make comments about how even with the lead that they had, it didn't feel like that it was enough. But just like that, flick of a switch, they found a pick converted into Baron. And I think that that's what their early game largely consisted of, finding pick after pick after pick, largely revolving around the mid-jungle. Like, we didn't talk much about DOS. He was, of course, part of that roaming. But the mid-jungle was really the key in kind of winning out on a lot of these early game skirmishes against Mad.
One of the ways that SK played so well when they emerged onto the scene this year was through...
Well,
okay.
I mean,
Exakick too, actually.
Yeah, because I feel like the story for
it was
SK
Markoon
was
playing
very
through
much
bot.
Exakick.
You're right.
Yeah, like, I agree with you that Markoon being on the map, 100%.
Yeah.
That I agree with you with. But it was not around mid, right? Like, Sertuss was definitely not the player for me that stood out, which is why it was great to see him play the way he did. That, of course, we know him for things like his Akali and Silas. Those were the champions that, when he was playing well, were the type of champions that he found success on. In a meta where those champions are not thriving, he was always going to struggle. So it was great to see them perform like that again yesterday. But you're going up against Humanoid, you're going up against Razork. Like, this mid-jungle, I think, right now, is the best performing mid-jungle in the league.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, and I think as well, you have to attack it from draft straight away, because yesterday they actually had that plan. You saw that the SCA came through and they immediately had the plan where it's like, we're going to lock in Poppy, we're going to lock in Silas, we're going to make sure you can't dash away whatsoever, and we will just play through this 2v2. And this is in the context as well where the enemy bot lane had Draven and Blitzcrank, and they still didn't get the early resources to the bot lane to let them stabilize. They had to say, you know what? You're going to have to do your own thing. We need to solve and get a lead on this side of the map and then take it from there. And that's also going to be very difficult because even against the bot lane of Fnatic as well, that's not just, you know, Carsey and Hilly, that's Noah and Trymbi, and they have been absolutely fantastic.
I think Fnatic in general, especially in the early game, have just been stellar across the entirety of this split, currently sitting at 7-1. And obviously you can look at Noah and Trymbi, you can look at Razork and Humanoid. Even Oscarinin, after his disappointing start to his LEC career, has really stepped up and is doing exactly what his team needs. In fact, has carried a few games for them as well with his reactive TPs and planned plays. And you can see generally, they're just miles ahead of everyone. Second in the league, only to G2 in some of these stats.
I think that we finally get to see Razork just kind of do what he wants without any hesitation. It's such a great shift for him where it feels like that everyone was just had the looking glass on him to be like, when are you going to make that mistake? You know, when are you going to make the play that just ends? And even yesterday, when we were casting, we were like, oh, are you making that play, Razork, where he just dives into the enemy team? But his team was right there to follow him up, and it feels like that he's playing really well around what lanes have advantage. He's at the beginning of the split, he was bot focused. He's also played around mid lane a bunch. We also saw him just dedicate all his time to Oscarinin. I don't think the Fnatic is so one-dimensional that they only have a single lane that they can play through. Razork seems to be very fluid and flexible in terms of what he's doing on the map and where he wants to be. And I can give nothing but props to the man. Right now, I do think that he is the best performing jungler in Europe.
I totally agree with you. And Mikkel, I know you want to talk a little bit more about Fnatic, but I do want to move us on to the fact that even though they have played so well, yesterday we saw quite a few errors from them, especially in the mid game. They had a few happy moments, so to speak.
And it's been more than just yesterday. Fnatic really so far has been really good in the early game, really good at late game team fighting. And then in between, there's always this little happy stage moment, if that's what you want to call it. This is one of them, where Humanoid is walking up in melee range, extending the Ragnarok and just letting him ran around the, well, rest of his team members and getting a triple kill. But it's not the first time we've seen it. Even into the Mumu game where Razork was absolutely popping off, they could have ended that game sooner as well. Yesterday's game, obviously, as well. And it's just a spin this time where I just want to temper the expectations we have for Fnatic right now. This is a really good team in Europe, but it's also just the fact that they also have their mistakes as well that they definitely need to iron out in the mid game.
I mean, I agree, but why are we tempering expectations? Like, let's just be hype about Fnatic for a little while, Guldborg. They're not in the best of threes yet. When they start losing, we can start being sad about them. But for now, I don't blame people for being over-eager about Fnatic being the second coming,
it's
you know?
the analyst thing, man. The top teams, you find the weaknesses. Bottom teams, you find the positives.
I totally agree with the weaknesses, but as a past Fnatic fanboy who used to own all the Fnatic merch, it's clobbering time, you know? Ding ding, time's up. We're back to 2018. Fnatic gonna smash. Noah is reckless, but more handsome and less passive in lane. Finally, it's gonna be amazing.
This is why I have to make these things. You understand now? This is why I have to do this. Because he's
pandering to the Fnatic fan base. He's looking to get those tweets being like, we always knew Medic was based. Like that.
He's just trying to get rid of the G2 bias.
I have to be biased to one of them, okay? It's Fnatic or G2 now. At the moment,
but I think the important thing to recognize here is that there are ways in which SK can punish, right? And I think that that's the biggest takeaway for me from Guldborg's point, which is that even though Fnatic seems like, I mean, they are objectively one of the best teams that we have in Europe, it's going to be an uphill battle for SK. They surprised us yesterday against MAD. Perhaps not as much of a surprise when we look at MAD's current performance, but it's in their control. They have the ability to shape their own destiny. A win here locks them in groups, no tiebreakers. If they lose, they will still get another chance, but that's something that right here and now they could look to avoid.
Great summation, Vedius. It's almost like you're the host for the day. We're going to hand it over to Quickshot and Dagda, who are ready for what could be our final game of the regular season.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. That's right. Welcome back to the caster desk and potentially the last game of the regular season. Not only are the stakes for groups high, if SK or Astralis are eliminated, they will be the first team guaranteed to not make it to our season finals event that lead up to 2023 Worlds, that lead up to Montpellier. So a lot is on the line here. Can SK surprise once more and take down Fnatic? Load up into picks and bans. I want to highlight and remind everyone that yesterday, Markoon's Poppy and Sertuss's Silas absolutely dominated the game. We spoke to Sertuss in PGL, and he was feeling very confident and comfortable. And straight out the gate, they're actually banning the Poppy because Razork has also performed exceptionally on that champion.
Yeah, the Poppy's been doing pretty good in the hands of some of these junglers, so not surprised to see it gone. Gonna get the LeBlanc away from Sertuss as well. And honestly, I kind of agree with you on towards like things like the Silas. I think Sertuss wants to try and fall back towards these more melee-oriented picks, more the facilitators, like things like the Lissandra that he's also picked up a win on. So I think that's probably the direction we're going to see SK Gaming try and go for, play for that strong mid jungle like we saw yesterday, and see if they can try and get that edge against Razork and Humanoid.
Well, the next two bans is Sejuani, Cassante, LeBlanc removed, Yuumi and Milio still open and available, Maokai as well. What will be the priority here? We've seen a couple more Milios and Yuumis throughout today than we have in the past. Also, Kennen surprisingly showing up. Not something we've seen, and another jungle ban. I do quite like this approach here. I think Razork has been one of the most impressive, if not the most impressive jungler during the regular season.
I think he has been, yeah. I think it's a fair statement, and even the desk was alluding to it as well. I think Razork has had a phenomenal split. It feels like with Trymbi coming in and taking the shot calling away from him, he's been opened up to play way more aggressive. Like even literally from the first game that we saw from Fnatic in the split, he immediately ganks bot, gets a kill, immediately goes mid, gets a kill. Like he is on an absolute tear, and you have to find a way to shut him down.
And of course, both of these junglers as well. I've got a couple of different picks in their pool. Kha'Zix is one of them for Markoon, the Viego, the Kindred, and the Amumu for Razork.
So I'm going to put out a little quick stat for you.
Yes.
every single game that SK have won, DOS has had Milio. Every other game where DOS is not playing Milio, SK have lost. So already they're off to a great start in this draft.
Statistically speaking, they have set themselves up for once again continued success. The question is, what will it be flanked by, and how will Exakick as well as SK Gaming handle the early game of Fnatic? Because it has been exceptional, really. We know that they're going to be stepping into Noah's Aphelios, and as far as the champion pool for Exakick, once he's played Jinx, Azir, and the Aphelios, nothing other than those picks. Could obviously just take that Jinx right now if he's so pleased, and is most likely to do so.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. It works really well already into the Aphelios. Then you add in the Milio alongside it, the extra range, the burns, the shield, and the movement speed makes it nigh on impossible for Noah to play this. It means that Trymbi probably has to go into something that's far more aggressive in that bottom lane, something like the Nautiluses or even the Thresh like we got from him previously, something that can try and play forward in this lane. But even then, it's so difficult when you're up against the Milio. You'll probably see him go back towards the Nautilus just because the knockups and stuff can't really be gotten rid of. Relevant though, going to go back towards his Jax, so we'll have to see again if we are going to get SK going towards this more split push orientated style that managed to pick up the win for them against Koi.
I mean, that Jax was very, very pivotal. And of course, without locking in a jungler during phase 1, they know they're stepping into the Maokai. The pool has been trimmed. No surprise to see the Yuumi on the opposite side of the rift. So duo's now secured on both sides. Oscarinin, we'll have to see what he runs into that Jax in the top lane. Has also been one of the surprise players this summer, stepping up and kind of shining in his own light. But the Wukong now removed. Another jungle champion removed from Markoon. I mean, does the Amumu, is it ban-worthy at all?
I mean, it could easily come out here again. You're up against the Maokai, which doesn't put you under much pressure. You match the team fight in there and set up really well for the Jinx. Even just for things like the Aphelios, it makes it very difficult for you to operate. So it could easily be an answer, but I think for a lot of this as well is about, hey, look, we want to try and set up for Sertuss here. You want to have something that can try and play well around sides, because at the moment, your Jinx Milio automatically wins you priority in mid. So sideline threats become a really big opportunity here for SK if they want to go towards that. I will say though, against Koi, it was kind of Koi tossing the ball away that gave SK the opportunity to get back into that game. So maybe they just want to go for straight up team fighting and making sure they're more comfortable in that regard instead.
I mean, it's going to be a difficult situation here because for Sertuss, going to obviously be in a position where he is somewhat counterpicked. We know the Jax in the top lane, so Fnatic have got a little bit more information to play with. It's going to be the Nico and the Syndra removed as the last two bans for Fnatic and SK respectively. And with the Azir most likely locked in here, we'll have to see what Sertuss wants to run into it.
So I do want to just highlight as well, like over in the LCK, say for like Owner and that, we have seen Jax flexed into the jungle. So I'm curious now, just as we get to see the Renekton coming out, if, and the amount of jungle bans as well, if maybe they're comfortable flexing that Jax into the jungle. We'll have to see though. Imagine they're just going to pick up their mid lane and maybe buy a little bit more time here, but it could actually be a pretty nice angle for that to come through if they want to go for something a bit funky.
I'm taking a quick look here. I cannot see any games in Markoon's history on Jax, so it would be a first if it were the case. And the Azir has been one of the more impactful champions over the course of this weekend, risen in prior, and now we find out. Markoon are irrelevant, what are they getting?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go for this, you go for the Azir or something along the... Okay, Nautilus jungle, yeah. So we've seen this a little bit as well. We've seen Kanavi play it over in the LPL, so not entirely unusual. We got to see it a little bit in MSI as well. Something that can work very, very well, and I think gives you a lot of engagement. But Humanoid, bringing out the Xerath, that's something that's definitely out of left field.
Okay, so this is a first-time Nautilus jungle for Markoon. The Xerath in the middle lane for Humanoid. I'll take a look if and when he played that last. What on earth do you expect from these compositions? And let's say specifically, what is this Renekton Xerath combination going to do?
So, I mean, for Xerath, it's going to be a lot of long-range poke and basically trying to see if you can get that damage down before SK are able to jump in on top of you. You don't have a huge amount of engage tools that are available. It is just the Nautilus, so I think that's why Humanoid is happy enough to go for this more long-range poke and just play safe in these fights, knowing that with the Maokai and everything else in front of him, there's not really going to be much threat, especially with even the Yuumi to follow up. So I actually think this is a really good opportunity and bypasses a lot of the issues that I was about to say for the composition of Fnatic, which was you don't have any long range to match things like the Azir and the Jinx, but now with the Xerath, you definitely do.
And of course, that Xerath, this is a first-time Xerath for Humanoid. First time Nautilus for Markoon. And as far as we can see, only one other Xerath has been played worldwide. It was in the LCO much earlier this year. For Fnatic, they know they are locked into second seed, but for SK, a win here locks groups, a loss forces a tiebreaker. Can SK do it? So first question I'm going to ask you, what do you anticipate for this laning phase coming out of Fnatic? With the Maokai Xerath combination dealing with the Nautilus Azir, we've got duos that we have not seen this year.
For Humanoid, it's going to be basically, hey, look, give me the lane. I am playing mega scaly. You can even see free boots, first strike. And even the biscuits, he's like, hey, look, I'm just going to play for the late game. I'm going to be able to outrange Sertuss. I'm going to be able to push the wave and make sure that I'm going to be totally fine here to actually keep up with this Azir. On the opposite side, it's all going to be looking at Markoon. This Nautilus wants to be active in the early stages, wants to be using the amount of CC that he has to offer, and if he can get on towards Humanoid and set up for things alongside Sertuss, or even punish Noah and Trymbi, who should take a reasonable amount of poke in this bottom lane as well, that could potentially be places. Also, I think Irrelevant is, in time, going to just end up winning out in this matchup against the Renekton. So there is always the opportunity for SK to just play up towards Irrelevant and be like, look, we're just going to get that ball already rolling and making sure that Irrelevant hits that late game spike that bit soon.
And I think when you do talk and look towards that late game, there's a terrifying number of options here on the side of SK, especially with the threat that Jax will be able to have on that side lane. Question of who on earth is going to try match him and deal with him. Obviously, it'll take a long time to get to that point. But for now, Oscarinin is already taking a little bit of poke for the time being. Dust and Exakick pushing as is expected. I'm going to be tracking both Markoon and Razork, both players who are extremely important for their respective teams. Markoon in particular, in his game yesterday, stepping up 9-0-10, 1,200 gold lead, and involved in 4 kills or assists by that 14-minute mark. So I want to see if he can have a similar sort of impact on this Nautilus.
There's 100% kill participation for Markoon and for Sertuss at the 14-minute mark. A huge amount of SK's game plan was, we're going to play through mid, we're going to start to push that advantage into top side as well, and their bot lane did suffer as a result, but it got the job done. And especially when you're playing a composition like this, I could easily see Markoon going for the same game plan here. We have the Nautilus, let's try and play for some of these advantages that we have on top side when it comes towards skirmishing and make sure we can get those leads.
All right, let's talk a little bit about this Xerath. Not a champion that we see very often, if at all once, in the LCO earlier this year. The last time we saw it here in Europe was in 2017. That's how long it's been. Currently maxing that Q, the Arcano Pole is going to be able to push the wave and control it. I think in my head, I'm just seeing him as a poke machine. If he's able to manage to keep SK at arm's length, and then if he's able to land any of the CC from his W and his E, then potentially can combo with that Maokai, but definitely a champion that needs to be set up well and does not want to get surprised.
No, he wants to make sure that he's able to use that long range, especially as he starts to move in towards objectives. And you can already see he's trying to get some good trades there against Sertuss, but a lot of this is going to be a case of Fnatic trying to get control so they can slowly approach River, making sure that there's no real side angles for SK to come out. And I think this is where Irrelevant is going to have to come alive again, especially in that game that we watched against Koi. Irrelevant's Jax was so often finding these angles of attack to jump into the back line, get the helicopter ride for them as well with the stun, and make sure there was just nowhere for them to really find the fights that they needed. So I think there is definitely angles of attack here, but it does rely on Markoon and Irrelevant to make sure that the Fnatic backline are never comfortable.
Yeah, and I think for that Fnatic backline, they are definitely going to have superior vision, I think. Once you do have those ultimates unlocked, I'm just imagining the Maokai ult put down and then the Xerath ult dropped on top of multiple targets. Everyone wants to group up to avoid the multiple lanes of CC. So it is potentially a fun combo to watch for. But for now, is going to be Razork on a invading mission. But he has been spotted out. Flash over the wall from Markoon. Irrelevant will connect to the counter-strike, and first blood is donated to Irrelevant. Just good awareness and punishing Razork on an invade.
Yeah, you can see Irrelevant did give up a couple of creeps there to make that happen, but Irrelevant had already started to back away. He was like, look, chances are Razork is on this top side. So he immediately goes to check to see if he spots Razork in the jungle, and it means he's in a position then, as Markoon comes across, to set that one up. So nice read by SK, knowing that Razork might have been on that top side.
Carrying bystand and the punish means that that kill's secured. The CS deficit significantly less impactful for now. You can see only 100 gold. Humanoid's got himself that 12 advantage in the middle lane. And we got a quick glimpse there of Dawson, Exakick getting a decent trade onto Noah and Trymbi, but no significant advantage to speak of. Do you think Razork needs to be a bit more cautious on this Maokai, especially when playing around that middle lane? Until Humanoid's got the ult, which he has just unlocked, can't really get hugely involved. Really needs specific scenarios to take advantage of the skill shots. With the mobility from Sertuss, hops over the wall, able to find that assist. And SK, first blood, goes to a Jax, which is about as good as it can get.
Well, it's also needed because he's struggling a little bit in the CS department. Had to go for that early reset, thanks to Oscarinin getting some advantages there. And it means that he just wasn't really in a position then to try and follow up. He still has to reset, still has that TP to get back, so does Oscarinin. So definitely big advantages for Fnatic, both in mid and top. And we'll have to see now if they can try and move that on to some other advantages, but Noah here. Exakick has no idea.
Oh, Exakick gets exhausted, has ghosted already. Moving behind those Flame Chompers, staying alive for the time being. Flash is available, needs to get over the wall. Damage onto Noah, he's down to 300 and kill secured. Fnatic with the gank from Razork, finding the kill on Exakick.
A fantastic bait from Fnatic. Noah stayed in the push, already had the Gravitum available, and Razork was there even if Exakick tried to flash or move anywhere else. So really nice job from Fnatic to set that one up, and that was the last lane. That was kind of the last opportunity that we saw for SK in having those advantages. So nice job to get that one now going in Noah and Trymbi's favor.
Another kill secured for Noah. The legacy continues. The kill secured is not accounted for in this graphic. 51 KDA, 700 damage per minute. Oscarinin survives for the time being, but I think a breath of fresh air for Fnatic fans.
I mean, isn't it absurd, though, that he died yesterday and it's still nearly 52?
Yep.
Like, that is halved since yesterday.
Making a case for both Rookie and MVP for the time being. At least you can make an argument for it. Oscarinin teleported back to the tower. Vision has been toggled to see exactly what Fnatic are aware of. And Markoon was waiting towards the Krugs, deciding to instead peel back towards Sertuss. Razork is the target. Sertuss has got the Emperor's Divide and may be able to use it. Oscarinin is pushed backwards and Razork gets locked up and shut down. Right of the Arcane does not enough damage. Oscar's able to at least slide his way to safety, and another kill goes the way of SK, this time to Sertuss.
Yeah, it should be just as the Rift Herald spawning. 10 seconds on that, though, and I mean, Razork should be able to come out of base, so not having a huge amount of damage on that top side means that SK may not just be able to immediately go for the Rift Herald, which should maybe give Fnatic an opportunity to push in towards that, but it actually looks like Razork is going to move to bot side and look to trade it for Dragon instead. But great job here from SK. Use the push that you have in mid from Sertuss. Markoon hovering over the wall as well, using the push that he has on top side, and then Sertuss alongside the Milio in a position to follow up on that. So actually getting DOS out of the spot lane and using him elsewhere as well, making Razork uncomfortable, knowing that Razork has been so core to the early game identity of Fnatic.
I mean, this is only the second Maokai for Razork all summer. And while the previous game was a win, I think the approach to banning so many of those jungle champions and almost, I'm going to use the word loosely, but almost like baiting him towards the Maokai, may be something that is important because Markoon and Razork have been the playmakers for their squads. And this time around, Markoon once again stepping forward. He's got himself the depth charge. And Oscar, 5 seconds from Dominus. Flashes up, 3 seconds from Dominus. He's going to be taken down before it's even available. Another kill to Irrelevance Jax, and Markoon making his impact, 100% kill participation again.
Very similar story to yesterday. What got them that win, the fact that they were able to play through Markoon, set up on this top side, get those advantages. Razork now trying to play around bot side, but look at Markoon, immediately resets, ignores his top camps. He's gonna make sure he can cover the dive that could potentially come through into boss.
Look at the minimap, look at the minimap. Humanoid's coming in with Razork. Ultimate is available, the Arcano Pulse fired out. Exakick and DOS are going to get slaughtered. There's Markoon arriving to try turn something back. DOS is the next target as Noah flashes for his life. 2 kills secured by Fnatic at the cost of Trymbi's life.
Trymbi fell, but nobody got the auto on him, so it's no kill going across. It's just 2 deaths for Exakick and Dawson. I mean, Markoon had the right idea, try and get to bot side, but Exakick and Doss weren't willing to give up that wave, and they die in the process.
I got so excited that Maokai and Xerath could have ulted together, and Humanoid's ult was on cooldown, that I just got tongue-tied. But look at the focus here. Markoon going top has been getting the lead for SK, but obviously Exakick and Doss 4 versus 2.
And as you said, many men on the mini-map as SK try to stay underneath the tower here, but Fnatic just have too much damage, and you can see you're trying to keep these trades alive, but it's Trymbi who ends up tanking, so Trymbi falls, and then at that stage, SK were able to just follow this one through and get themselves a couple more kills.
Of course, while we were in that replay, Irrelevant made it back to the top lane, committed the engage onto Oscar, forcing him to flash to safety. He's got that Divine Sunderer already unlocked.
Also, I think a slight mistake there. Actually, Markoon does pick up the kill onto Trymbi and all that as well, so just managing to get some damage down as now the hook will go wide onto Noah. But it's still, I like this from SK. Getting out onto the map early, using Markoon. This is exactly what you need to do with this Nautilus. Abuse the amount of CC you have in the early stages to set up fights for SK.
SK Gaming are 1,000 gold up, a kill in the lead over Fnatic, number 2 team in the regular season. If SK win this game, they will advance to groups, and we will have no tiebreakers. They also get the first dragon of the game. And once again, they are being led by Markoon. Once again, I will say that Irrelevant should change his name. He's becoming more and more important to the squad, because it is the advantage for SK focused on the top half of the map, whereas Noah is pretty accelerated on this Aphelios in the bottom half of the map.
It is going to be answered out pretty well, though, by SK. You end up getting some of these tower plates, so at least you can get something back. Still 1,000 gold lead there for Noah, so he's in a good spot with those 3 kills. The big question, though, is like, how can SK now continue to push this one forward? You got Rift Herald, so they want to try and get this into Exakick in the bot lane.
Look at the minimap again. Razork is nearby. Herald has been dropped. 2 plates secured, the 3rd about to fall. Dredgeline finds its target. Super Mega Death Rocket fight fairly early as the chapter is being read. Right of the Arcane fires 2 and 3. Exakick is low. The chakrams are bouncing off Doss, and the hula hoops find another for Noah. Markoon's able to run with his escape with his life, but that long range from Humanoid helping pressure SK.
As the things you forget when you don't play against Xerath, how long he can shoot those shots and make sure that he can actually have that impact on bot lane despite the fact he's staying there. TP into bot lane though.
Keep in mind, the initiation was started by SK, as is this next one. Flash forward, finds the counter-strike. Noah is flashless, but he's able to run to safety. Sertuss muses the conquering and the shifting sands, but he doesn't have the time to lock down Razork. Teleport committed, nothing secured as of yet.
He didn't want to burn the flash, so you end up with the TP burned and you get nothing in the bot lane. We'll be able to get some turret plates at least, but you're being traded in the mid lane, so in the grand schemes of resources used and resources gotten, it's a Fnatic win once more.
Yeah, take a look. 6 plates for now in favor of SK. The tower first blood bonus is about to be secured. This minion wave is going to die out. 5 plates already picked up by Fnatic. They got a couple in the middle lane, a couple in the top lane. And we are still fairly even on the gold. But look at this, it was Markoon starting this off.
The problem is, though, you can't really get into range to auto-attack anything because the Yuumi ult comes out immediately from Trymbi. Exakick as well uses the ult at the start, so he's not really auto-attacking to get damage down. And then flash forward from Noah, he knows he's got the speed up, he's got everything else now relevant. He's getting TP'd on.
He managed to take the tower, but at the cost of his life. Another kill to Noah, 5-0. All of Fnatic's kills secured by the Aphelios in the bottom lane, and Razork is looking to run down Doss. Zap will apply the slow flame choppers by some time, but Doss is knocked backwards, and Noah gets another. This man cannot be stopped. The chopper is rooting Exakick, and he's forced to flash for his life. Managing to secure that one. Super Mega Death Rocket gets one back. 5 kills to 7, and it is dead even. The right of the arcade. Humanoid from long range. He sniped him with the ultimate from Xerath.
I can understand why you're tripping over your words. This game is nuts. Everyone is taking pop shots left, right, and center. And at least at the moment, Humanoid's been landing most of them. Now 1-0-3. Noah, I mean, his training arc is very much finishing up as they start to move on to groups. He's taken off the weights because 6-0 at this stage. This is Noah's game to pop the hell off.
Question is, can SK get to him, or can they play the side lanes with Irrelevant, who is still 1,000 gold up, It's 1.8k for Noah. Teams are dead even in gold. Dragon number 1 was secured by SK, as well as that Herald. And now the second is spawned. We're a minute 20 from the next dragon. And Fnatic, they fancy a fight. No ultimate for Razork, however.
Starting to have Azir moving down, though. Sertuss in a decent spot, irrelevant. Not really in a position to follow up. You need to keep your eyes on Oscarinin, though, as they come in, because he's going to have a great flank position with the way SK are set up.
Flash is a couple seconds away for Oscar. Can come through the pit if he wants to. Razork still needs time for that Nature's Grasp. Doss is being poked down by Xerath, and that is at least the objective secured and the eye picked up. Markoon's able to run away with the rest of SK, but you can see the damage and the poke, how much impact it has inside the pit as SK are grouped up.
Fnatic are even going to get what they really want to as well. Like, bot tower is still standing, but Noah gets the play in mid. You're going to get position now for the Dragon as well. It's in 30 seconds, and they're actually going to rotate top. They're reading SK going for this play with Irrelevant, and now they're going to be completely caught out.
This is a 2 versus 5 coming up. Oscarinin is currently being targeted. Xerath doesn't find the kill, but the Nature's Grasp is thrown out and just about tags Irrelevant. He's taken down by Razork, and Fnatic will look to secure another tower. They're second of the game. SK are trying to trade in the mid lane. Every time one team commits to a play, there is a response at least being attempted.
It's actually very funny, guys. Sertuss.
Oh, Sertuss is going to use that Emperor's Divide, buys some time, flashes away to safety, and Noah doesn't have the damage just yet to find the kill, but another tower being threatened by Fnatic. They're accelerating the gold lead. There is a tower picked up by SK. Dagda, we don't have a chance to breathe because it's non-stop action.
The thing is, though, you're still winning as Fnatic. You get top tower, you get the tier 2, you don't get it as SK. And a lot of this is coming down to Fnatic going back to old tricks, but now it's being used against them. SK are overloading topside.
Noah's got his flash, and he's going to get stunned up, rather, by that Jax. Continuing to run, flashes at the last second, stays alive long enough for the teleport to come in. Are you kidding me? The Jinx cell doesn't have enough, and now Markoon is the target. Humanoid won't be able to land that Q. Noah uses everything to get out with the help of Trymbi. A lot of summoners blown. Keep that in mind for the next fight, and a dragon is available.
Trymbi's still going to keep that absurd KDA for the moment as he manages to step away. Dragon, as you say, just up now. Razork has control. You have Sertuss pushing mid, Irrelevant pushing in on top side. So they're still trying to play with Irrelevant for this top tower. But Oscarinin here, it's match. And I'm also going to keep my eyes on towards what Noah wants to try and do, because he's going to basically tell you exactly what Fnatic are doing. Every time we watch Fnatic, they're taking basically what Koi strategies were alongside Trymbi and implementing them on Fnatic. We're going to push mid. We're going to immediately overload one portion of the map. This time around, it's been topside. We're going to look for kills on Sertuss, onto Irrelevant, find them, and then use that time to get a bunch of control in the map. The tier 2 and top is gone. They get the control over mid lane, and now they're moving for the Dragon.
And with the 2,500 gold advantage already, as well as a significant amount of combat stats extra. 2 items completed for the 601 Aphelios Noah. Another dragon secured, this time the first for Fnatic. But for SK, they are starting to get pushed back. It's starting to look more and more dire. SK really are looking, if they can somehow pick up a win, they lock in groups. They need to figure out how to come back for now, because they're going to lose their 4th tower of the game. And they don't seem to be able to get control of these lanes.
Well, the problem is, look at where Humanoid is. Every single time he's just walking down river, staying completely out of vision. So the second he's missing, you're like, okay, is there a Rite of the Arcane coming out of this at any point in time? Like, are we able to actually contest this? Because he completely shoved mid. Exakick had to catch that at the tier 2. So if Humanoid gone off the map, SK are like, no, we can't fight it. We don't know if this is an even fight.
Unfortunately not. That long range is always something you have to try to factor in. Gonna swarm the numbers on the top here for SK, at least starting to. 3 members moving towards Irrelevant, who now finds himself being ganked by Razork and Trymbi. That's a flash forward there from Oscar. Throws down the W and some damage back, but eventually Irrelevant should be run down. Let's see, what is the reply here from SK? Another kill secured for Razork. They managed to catch out Noah alone inside the jungle. Not expecting SK to be there, so they get the kill, they get the shutdown, they also get the tower.
That's a big win for SK. I was about to say they don't get anything, but the fact that Noah decided to go that direction put him in a horrible spot. good read from Fnatic to go, hey, we're going to move on to top side because Sertuss is bought with no TP. We will have Humanoid's TP as well. We have the numbers advantages, even if all of SK show up on this top side apart from Sertuss. Instead, though, they end up getting the kill, but with Noah in that position, you get something back for SK, and it's a big win. That tier 2 tower in the mid lane opens up so much more of the enemy jungle to get that vision down and contest things like Baron vision, contest the second dragon for either squad. That's just going to be coming up in 3 minutes time.
And I think for SK, deep vision is going to be critical for the next passage of play because of the fact that Humanoid can get involved from such a long distance. Similar to when you play like against a Nocturne, you really want to know where he could ultimate from. Humanoid is going to be a nuisance around any of these neutral objectives and can also sit very, very deep. The top tower is still standing for Oscar, and we're now just waiting for these next objectives. It's 2.5 minutes for the next dragon, and it's going to be the lane game. So let's keep our eyes on how Irrelevant plays the side lane, because that is going to be one avenue that I think SK may have a pretty big advantage as the game continues to play out.
Yeah, especially if he can get this tier 2 tower, which looks like he will with the demolition proc there. Going to be so close. Oscarinin going, no, he should actually still get it, but I need to hop out of here.
Black Cleaver, 2 items versus 1.5 here. So Irrelevant is getting some damage back. The Counter-Strike doing a lot of work. That's one slice. Oscar will get the heal from the Q. On the minimap, Fnatic pushing towards SK. So no kills secured, but the tower was picked up by that side lane Jax.
Yeah, and that's going to be massive, because what this opens up now is the opportunity to push in on the spot side deep for the Jax, threaten the mid, rotate, and then you're able to take a bunch of vision on this top side, because when you look at where you're going to be positioned, it's kind of this area that now then becomes controllable for Fnatic. So if Irrelevant's able to play this out right and SK can use that Jax effectively, it can make things difficult. But for the moment, it's Fnatic who have control, and that's where they're TPing behind them.
Teleport coming in, Exakick is very, very low. Dredgeline finds his target, and the first is Razork, shut down by Exakick. Irrelevant now somewhat flanked, right to the arcane, finds the snipe, and the next target will be DOS. Irrelevant is being threatened by the engager. Sertuss takes the final shot to the face, and Fnatic are able to get one back. It's a trade though, and all of a sudden the stun disc is dropped. Irrelevant goes forward, looking for the stun. There's not a lot of follow-up though. Everyone else is low. Exakick is dead, and Fnatic maintain control of the lane.
Just the amount of long-range damage that's coming out of Humanoid is obnoxious for SK to deal with. Yes, Razork goes down, but Fnatic are able to kite back from the initial engage and then turn it around with that long range. So for SK, they invested a lot trying to break this, and the idea is sound, where they go, right, we need to try and stop Fnatic from having this control so we can actually start to work with Irrelevant on a side lane, but they can't really do it, where, as you see, you end up falling down. Exakick takes so much damage trying to make that happen that it's one shot coming through. Great shot from Humanoid, and then the immediate follow-up onto DOS to force him out of the equation as well.
Of course, for SK, no teleports available now. Dragon spawning in a few seconds. The thing I do appreciate about that play, it signals their intent. They want to be proactive. They want to look for those opportunities to earn the win. And they managed to at least get another kill on Exakick. He is still 500 gold behind Noah, but it's Irrelevant that is leading the way, 1,000 gold up for the squad.
It's also given SK much more control on the map, because they kind of shut down the push that Fnatic have. And I love the fact of the trading here for SK, because you can now play for Irrelevant. Fnatic can't really deal with them on top side, because there's always the opportunity for SK to start Baron or go for Jax. They're going to go for the Baron instead.
I mean, SK have got a tower lead for now, 5-4. They've got all members inside the pit. Oscar is nearby. Ultimate being dropped down by Humanoid. It's doing a lot of work. Baron down to 1,500, 1,000 secured by SK, but they need to get out. How many members can? Immediately, that's Irrelevant down. Markoon's trying to escape with those blast cones. Exakick looking for that empowered recall. It should just about finish, and it does. Now can another one get out? Waiting for a few more seconds, and that's 4 members of SK. They steal Baron, and they get out with their lives.
And that's the control that they need now. It becomes very tough for Fnatic to try and push into SK. You're buying more space for Irrelevant, and again, this is what we're talking about. SK needing to play around the push that Irrelevant has, and they just about managed to sneak away with that play on the top side.
Now, unfortunately for SK, with Irrelevant being the member that was dropped, he's the one that you ideally would have loved to have had that Baron buff on. But I think this is now a big tool that they can use to try to push this lead just a little bit further. It is still dead even on gold. Fnatic have got that extra dragon available to them, and with 4 minutes until the next, the Soul is not going to be a win condition for quite a while, I feel like. And I also think that as long as Humanoid can try to find a time without those Baron-empowered minions. He's got so much range and so much AoE, so he can theoretically clear relatively well.
The problem is, though, there's only one Humanoid and there's two pushing waves. So Sertuss creating pressure on that top side. It's going to be relatively tough for Fnatic to get in on top of him because your main engage tool is Razork, and with the sliding glide, it makes it very tough to lock down Sertuss. And on the opposite side, Irrelevant needs two people to deal with him. Oscarinin can't really deal with him solo. Even at this stage, the Jax can kind of ignore the Renekton to a certain extent and just play for demolition procs on the tower as well. So for SK, they're in a really good spot. And when this game means literally make or break for them, this is where they have to be in this position. They control their destiny right now.
I did not truly think that SK was going to be able to take down Fnatic today. I was 100% prepared for a tiebreaker game. If SK do close this out, they will eliminate Astralis from the group stage and from the season finals event. But they need to take the Nexus down in order to do that, in order to progress to groups. Right now, it is still very much anybody's game. Right, Dagda, set some expectations for me. Vision looks good for SK in that northern quadrant. Irrelevant's pushing down this bottom lane. Not a huge amount of vision past where that next turret would be. But it's SK now in the driver's seats.
I think they're kind of missing their mark here, though, a little bit. The Baron buff has just run out, so yes, they got their pushes in. That's why they're going for the reset, but unfortunately not really able to get too much out of that entire equation, because Irrelevant wasn't fully in a position to push on bot side, because as you said, he ended up dying, so wasn't able to get onto that bot lane turret as effectively as he wanted to. Now SK should be able to get that reset and try to play a bit more aggressive. They've all that vision cleared out on top side, but you can easily push mid and then start to get that vision again on top. But honestly, I think Irrelevant might have to commit TP to bot lane, because I think you're wasting a little bit too much time here with how SK are disjointed on the resets.
And of course, let's talk a little bit about then late game. We're hitting 2-3 items for some of the carries in the game. Do you prefer how some of these fights are going to play? In my head, it should be easier for SK's comp to work together as a unit, just because we don't see this Xerath a whole hell of a lot.
I think for Fnatic, it's much easier to play front to back. The problem that you're seeing with SK is that they're literally just running in onto whoever Markoon is selected, and that's just setting you up as fish in a bottle for Humanoid, who nearly able to hit a couple of those shots there, but just going wide. And then you can see them slowly but surely taking this control back on the map. And this is what I was talking about with the disjointed reset for Irrelevant. Now Irrelevant is, yes, pressuring top side, but you've lost mid pressure. So now Fnatic can start to pressure on towards the top side, and Irrelevant can't get as much control. So I think this is where Irrelevant needed to TP to the lane to immediately get that push, so then you can actually be in a spot to create pressure.
And on the side of Fnatic, anticipating the Dragon in about a minute, getting that mid control, pushing, setting themselves up. Look at the range and the threat. Noah will step forward. Doss gets hit by 2. Dances past the 3rd. Doss is now chunked out. Manages to avoid the 4th and final shot. On the minimap, Oscarinin is fighting Irrelevant. Sertuss with a teleport available, trying to push in the bottom lane. And with 30 seconds from the Dragon, Humanoid has gotten so much chip damage throughout the course of this game and is looking once more to force SK into a position where they are at a disadvantage for the ensuing fights.
Fnatic gave up mid priority though, and also had no one contesting bot because Humanoid was trying to take those pop shots at Doss. So now you can see bot wave is crashing, so Fnatic are giving up a lot of farm here to try and get this mid prio to enter into River and see if they can get that poke. It's a huge amount about getting vision in safe spaces, which is why they're trying to enter through River, because they have these TPs in behind them. But that might be the call now to turn onto the TP. 2
teleports being channeled from SK. Sertuss has found Oscar. Emperor's Divide does naught. Irrelevant is jumped on by Markoon, and all of a sudden Oscar's dropped low. Exakick gets excited, gets the kill, but gets chunked down. Waiting a few more seconds for Humanoid to charge up that Q. Irrelevant and Doss dropped so low. Sertuss needs to use the slide and glide to safety. Noah uses the Gale Force forward, backed up by Yuumi, but hasn't got the damage. SK have dropped the highest damage dealer of Fnatic. They've tagged up Trymbi, they've dropped on Razork as well. And now it's just Humanoid left standing in front of his inhibitor turret. They chased too far and did not find the kills.
Still though, the shots are coming through.
Well, another snipe comes out. Humanoid not going to be able to take out Irrelevant, but at least something in return. 4 for 2.
And Dragon for SK as well. That's the crucial part. The TP was a little bit too far and it meant that you could end up turning on it for SK. It's a little bit disjointed here because you can see they immediately turn on to the Renekton, but as they're going in, Irrelevant also gets caught at the same time. So you get Markoon's ultimate and you get Sertuss' ultimate, both invested to get Oscarinin, and now everyone has to turn back to save Irrelevant. So at the start, it does go a bit wonky, but they get the kill onto Oscarinin. But this is the read from Fnatic. No ultimate for Sertuss, no ultimate for Markoon. Noah and Humanoid can step forward. Humanoid immediately flashes in and they think they can try and turn this around, but Noah misjudging the damage there. Not quite able to take down Exakick because you end up with the shield and that cozy campfire to keep him alive. Markoon not able to connect onto the hook on the top side onto Humanoid as well, means he's in a good spot. And despite the fact it looks good, you can get some return kills for Humanoid.
I absolutely love the gutsy play from Noah. I think that Q on the flamethrower just missed his target, didn't manage to connect onto Exakick. He was able to just sidestep, and now in the situation with Baron alive, it is all of a sudden Fnatic inside the pit. Humanoid, no ult available, no flash, and SK are grouped up, 4 members strong on the top. Sertuss coming from down south. Yuumi ult is flying across multiple members, but it's the first kill secured onto Razork. Baron's down to 1800, available, a double kill for Irrelevant. The Emperor's Divide sends Fnatic to the fountain. A clean ace and the Baron for SK.
Fnatic to the fountain, but it might have just sent SK to groups. SK with a fantastic team fight are barreling down mid with the Baron, and there's no one on Fnatic to defend.
With nearly no hope left. The last 2 games of the regular season, SK take their destiny into their own hands. They dominate Mad Lions on Sunday, and they silence Europe on Monday. SK advance to groups.
SK with the hero performance over the weekend will get themselves to groups, taking down Fnatic. A team that has looked so incredibly strong, has been praised throughout, and a large portion of that rests on the top side of the map. Markoon looking fantastic, Irrelevant getting control with his Jax again, Sertuss with the Shurima shuffle at the end as well. What a banger of a game to close out group.
Fantastic performance from SK. They earn that final spot in the group stage in dramatic and exciting fashion. And that means Fnatic will obviously finish in 2nd place. And importantly, another team removed from groups will be Astralis. And with their limited championship points, they also will not advance to the 2023 season finals. Do not go anywhere. We have the group draw show coming up shortly. For now, though, I think we have to talk a little bit about the day, the games, the results that we have had. And I think the Xerath is something that will be discussed because I loved some elements. I love the control that it did provide. But I think SK didn't back down. They weren't afraid. They committed the teleports. They played proactively, and they wanted to earn that win. So you never really got a chance as Xerath once they really threw everything at the kitchen sink to do so.
I think it was just that last Dragon fight. The fact that you end up with Oscarinin going down, and not Oscarin's fault. I think the vision wasn't cleared out correctly, so you end up with Irrelevant being able to come in. That isn't the safest of area, and the front to back that you're looking for Humanoid just wasn't there. So overall, SK managing to separate into skirmishes, just about eke it out. And they managed to eke out the game as well.
Markoon goes 2-0-11 for his team's 16 kills. Another gigantic performance and pivotal member of the squad, especially on those initiating champions. Give me a quick second for Player of the Game nominees at LEC on Twitter. Markoon, Sertuss, and Exakick are your 3 candidates.
Can't give DOS Milio. 100% win rate. All 4 games.
You called
all 4 games. The quick stats never lie, Trevor.
Pimps and bans, history does repeat itself. And on that Milio, he is undefeated in the regular season. I think, though, for SK, finding their form right at the end, I think playing a lot more just on the front foot, playing aggressively was a great shift both yesterday and today. I was not surprised to see them taking down Mad Lions as a team who's been inconsistent somewhat. But I think today against Fnatic, a little bit more shocking, a little bit more of an impressive win here for SK.
I think at this stage, you got to start banning Jax against Irrelevant. He has been so impactful on this champion, even though the scoreline may not show it. The fact he's able to consistently get these leads in the mid to late game, control the side lane, and give SK these moments to get back into the game. It's really becoming an issue, and this 1-4 style is working for SK.
It is, and I think something that is important to call out is that during the course of that game, Dagda, you're also highlighting some of the areas that can still be optimized. Some of the decision-making around when to push lanes, when to commit that teleport. Those are still areas that could, come into the gameplay. But for SK, finding the groove right at the last moment, that does mean that they will obviously be in pool 4 when we come to this group stage. We'll get to that in the drawing in a second. I'm very intrigued to see how these teams now adapt and grow. New patch, 13-13, 4 teams per group, best of 3s. Win 2 and you make top 4, lose 2 and you're out. So high pressure and obviously almost a completely different game, hopefully, to be expected.
Yeah, and a lot to work on over the course of the break week as well. I mean, at least we're going to avoid some of the things like Ivor and Top that we've been seeing in other regions, because that gets nerfed from 13-13. But I think it's still going to be a very different look. And I am curious to see how these teams like SK, who've kind of now found their stride, if they can continue to have that on what is going to be a very different looking patch.
I think as well, when you zoom out and you look at all the teams, teams like Koi, Mad Lions, over the last few years, consistently competing and challenging for the top, struggling more this summer than we would have expected or anticipated. There is time for them to come back. And I think Koi's win today specifically is something that gave me a little bit more optimism, just in terms of like the experience, the approach to the game. There was a clear game plan and they executed it and they locked in that group stage with a win today. It was one of the more impressive wins I think I have seen from them this summer.
Yeah, I agree. And I think for teams like Koi, the fact that you do have this time is going to mean a lot because, again, that's kind of a team that I've looked at that not having a sure identity about how they want to play the game, specifically in the mid game. So the fact that we got to see inklings of that today has filled me with hope that we will get to see that as we continue on. Also, just the fact that, again, we're kind of looking at a lot of these teams like Excel, who managed to, shoot up to 4th place, right? Managing to get that mega win over the course of week 2, where they got all 3 out of the 4 wins that they needed. Like, it was insane to see how they've also started to come online. So I think there's a lot now that we got to look at to see what they can achieve.
The thing is, we have a break week next week, so there will be no games next weekend. We'll be back the following week with the first best of 3s here of the summer group season. I will tell you that the players are obviously setting up on stage. We're about to get towards that group draw show in a moment or two. And then following the groups being drawn, PGL will discuss some of the outcomes, potentials, and possibilities. So do bear with us. It has been a long day, and it has been a very interesting one. And it's definitely one that I'm hopeful that our teams will, show growth, show development throughout the course of the best of 3s, because it has been a topsy-turvy summer season here for fans, for casters, for the squads alike.
Yeah, I think even for a lot of the teams as well, like, my heart breaks for Astralis because I really was impressed with them coming into spring, because I thought they'd really found their groove. The fact that they were looking for these skirmishes on the top side, like playing for this 3v3, was really sick to see. Yeah. We kind of got to see inklings of it. Even for guys like Finn, I think had a monstrous summer. I think Finn was so impressive, and now not getting an opportunity to try and show that in the group stage as well does break my heart a little bit. But unfortunately, there is going to be the team that ends up getting knocked out. And when it's so competitive down in the bottom half, it was inevitable that we were going to lose someone that I think kind of pushed the league enough to see themselves that they could have been a contender for groups.
Yeah, and of course, keep in mind, both Vitality and Astralis, the 2 teams that were eliminated from the regular season, Vitality will be watching with bated breath. They obviously are hoping that some of these teams that are rising up in summer will crash out early, because if they get overtaken in championship points, they may not be able to make it to the season finals event. That is a discussion for later, though. For now, we are ready for the LEC Group Draw Show. As you are already aware, Team Vitality and Astralis have been eliminated, so they will not be represented. And we're heading on stage where Trouble will host the draw show.
Welcome to the LEC Groups Draw Show! As you're already aware, unfortunately, Team Vitality and Astralis have been eliminated from the Summer Split, and the remaining 8 teams that have advanced to the group stage will now be drawn into the respective groups. Group A and Group B will be made up of 1 team from each pool, as decided by seeding during the regular season. The draw will be done by placing 4 pairs of envelopes on this podium, with each pair containing a Group A and a Group B team. The higher seeded team within each group will draw first, and both teams will reveal their selection at the same time. I'd like to invite on stage our league official, Patrick, to join me and place their respective pool envelopes ready to be drawn by the teams. Pool 4 teams consist of Mad Lions and Koi. Pool 3 teams consist of Team BDS and SK Gaming. Pool 2 teams consist of Team Heretics and Excel. And Pool 1 teams finally consist of G2 Esports and Fnatic. Thank you very much, Patrick. We now welcome onto the stage your representatives from Pool 4, Mad Lions and Koi with Karzi and Comp. Mad Lions were the highest seed here, so Karzi, if you would please pick one of the 2 paired envelopes at the front. And you can get the remaining one. If you guys can open them at the same time and point them at the camera. So Comp, you're in Group A, you can move over to the far right. And Karzi, you're Group B, you can move over to the far left. Next up, we have the teams in Pool 3, Team BDS and SK Gaming. Your representatives are Shio and Exakick. You can't wait to pick your envelope, can you? Well, since BDS is the highest seed, Shio, go ahead and pick one of the 2 at the front. And you get the remaining one, Exakick. Now, if you could please open them and point them at the camera at the same time. It was very cute. They also did it in French, by the way. Exakick, you're in Group B. You can go over to the left next to Karzi. And Shio, you're in Group A. You can move next to Comp. Now we have the teams in Pool 2, Excel Esports and Team Heretics. Heretics are bringing Spikes with Jankos and FLICKR as representing the team. And on the other side, we have Odo Amne. Are you guys already arguing about who's gonna pick what? Yeah, okay, you pick it, okay. Odo, they don't get to pick, you get to pick because you're highest seed. One of the first 2. Go on then. There's one remaining. From the front. There's only one, yeah. Okay, he knows it from previous splits, guys. Group A, you guys go over to the right. Thank you, Otto, for making my job easy. Finally, the teams in Pool 1, G2 Esports and Fnatic with Broken Blade and Razork. Of course, G2 has the highest seed in Pool 1. BB, you get your pick first. Wait for it. Thank you. Razork. If you guys could open it at the same time and point it at the camera. Are you okay there? I don't want to know what happens to your Christmas presents, Razork. You can go to Group B. No, sorry. This way, Razork. Group B. Now this marks the end of our draw. We now have our groups. To summarize, Group A consists of Koi, BDS, Team Heretics, and G2 Esports. And over in Group B, we have the Mad Lions, SK Gaming, Excel, and Fnatic. Now, G2 and Fnatic, as the top seeds in your group, you now have 5 minutes to decide your opponents in the first matchups of your group. In the meantime, the draw show continues with the LEC postgame lobby. Medic, take it away. Thank you, guys.